So if you're confused about how to pan items in your mix, where should they go? Should they go left? Should they go right? Should they be dead center? This video, I'm going to be covering the panning method that will save you hours and also allow you to pan your mix like a professional. After 13 years of mixing and mastering my own music and also working as a mastering engineer for others, I've come up with just 4 simple rules that you can use in your mix today to pan your mix like a professional in no time. So let's dive in. Rule number 1 in the mix is that the main elements should always be in the center. So that's going to be your kick, your snare, and your vocal. All of those things should be dead center 100% of the time. There's only one exception to that, but that is covered in a later rule, so stick around for that. So when we're panning our mix, I'm going to make sure my kick, my snare, and my lead vocal, all these vocals here are the lead vocal, are going to be panned in the center. They already are there, so I'm not going to touch them in this mix. Rule number 2, elements that are in the low end should not be panned left or right. So for example, what I mean by low end is when we're looking at bass instruments. So this bass guitar should always be in the middle. It sounds really funky if we go here and we pan it off to the side, because there's a couple reasons for this. The first one is that it'll make your mix very lopsided. The bass takes up a lot of room. It's very energetic in terms of the volume it takes up inside of the mix, and so it's going to feel very lopsided, first of all. And then second of all, humans are very bad at telling what direction bass frequencies are coming from. So anything that is primarily low end, and we're talking 100 hertz or below, so a bass or a kick is really the only elements that generally fall under that criteria. But anything that is that low primarily, we can't really tell where it's coming from. It's just there. And so because these waves move so slow, it's hard to tell the difference between your right ear and your left, and that's really how we tell direction versus right or left, okay? All that being said, your bass and your kick should always be in the center.
If you're struggling to get that industry standard quality for your mixes, then go ahead and check out my book, The Objective Mix. It teaches you the objective standards of how to get an industry standard quality mix. There's a link in the description if you are interested in that. Let's get back to the video.
Rule number 3 in your mix is start with LCR panning, and only then, if we have issues, we can add a 50% left-right. What is LCR? LCR is left, center, right. That's what it stands for, LCR, left, center, right. And left is things are 100% left, centered, or 100% right. Those are our 3 options when we're first volume balancing. So if I go through this and I have 2 rhythms, right? So I'm going to pan 1 hard left, 1 hard right. I'm not going to go like 40, whatever, like 75% left. It doesn't make any real difference in our mix. And also, if we're on headphones, it seems like that's a more natural place to put it because we're able to hear a little bit of it in our other ear here, right? So if I'm panning something left, I can still hear it a little bit in the right if I don't go 100% there. But it's going to sound, you're sacrificing the wideness potential of your mix by doing this. So just trust the process and go 100% left or 100% right. But as we're doing this, there are certain items, such as the floor and rack tom here. So we have these 2 toms. We don't want them to necessarily be 100% right or left. We could do that in this mix, but I feel that most of the time it makes your drum set feel too spread out and not like a single element. And so this is, again, the one exception is you can go 50% right or left if the element really just doesn't belong in either one of those areas. But the rest of the mix, outside of this, I'm going to be panning stuff hard right or hard left. Which brings me to rule number 4, which is doubled tracks should always be panned hard right and hard left. If you don't do this, then your elements are going to appear to be more narrow and you're going to end up with more issues in terms of being able to separate these items and hear each of them clearly in the mix. So you're sacrificing clarity and also wideness in the mix by panning things not hard right and left. So as I go through here, even on my lead guitars, which might seem a little bit odd to pan hard right and left, but because they're all doubled, they sound huge when I pan them like this. Right, so this is a great way to be able to separate your items and make them sound really bombastic in the mix. Again, if they sound really unnatural after you're done with this, You'd still have the option to pan them 50% left and 50% right, but I would always do an equal power left-right if given the option with stereo doubled tracks. This is not the same as duplicating a track and moving it to the other side. These are actual separate performances, and that is actually very, very important to keep in mind, because if you just duplicate a track and then move it to the other side, it's the same as if it were just mono. So please don't confuse those two things. These are for doubled tracks only. So let's finish out this panning. So these are doubled, so we're going to move those also right and left. Another one is, so this isn't actually the same exact item. You can tell those are actually different synths, although they are similar and they're playing the same part. So essentially, in my mind, they're doubled, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Is we're still creating this broader stereo spectrum by using LCR panning. So all of those vocals are going to be in the middle. These vocals are doubled, so we're going to move them left, right. Again, gangs left, right, and then all these harmonies are also doubled to an extent. So we're going to pan those hard right, hard left. All right, so here it is before panning, and then I'm going to play it after. Okay, so we're going to put this all here in mono. This here mix, and then we're going to do before after, and you can tell how much more professional this mix already sounds just by separating our items using this very simple framework and these 4 rules. All right, and that's all there is to panning. It's a very simple process. Don't overcomplicate it. Follow the 4 rules, and you're going to be well on your way to getting a professional, studio quality, industry standard mix. All right, I'll see you in the next one.